Morning.
Good morning.
Good
Oh
morning.
boy, gets better from here.
Better, it's dark here.
Okay, this is a good meeting to show some enthusiasm. Okay. I don't know whether that makes enthusiasm, Terry and Victor. Okay.
Well,
Jazz
Jeff,
hands.
that's all pseudo enthusiasm.
I'm so enthusiastic. Yay. Okay, we're going to give everybody just a minute here. While we get going, again, usual announcements. The meeting is being recorded. Please be careful about what you say. This is going to be put in our archive. I'm going to mention this a couple of times. At the end of this meeting, I'm going to end the meeting with Terry's help. And then I'm going to continue on with about 10 or 15 minutes for those that want to stay to do a podcast. Part of CNN's success is that they're able to recycle their news. Since I have all of you here, I think it's kind of cool to be able to take this topic just a little bit farther and make that into a public podcast. So that's going to be the attempt. It's just the first time. Evel Knievel couldn't make that leap, but Edmund Bogan is about to. This is really exciting for our young people in here. Evel Knievel was a well-known stuntman years ago. So and he had a son named Robbie Knievel. But we're going to get into all of this. So who here has read the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz? Or who's heard of it? Okay, so great. We got Victor. We got like a very non kind of hand from Houston there. Houston.
I've heard of the book. I've never read it.
Okay.
I've heard of the book. That's what that communicated.
Okay. I don't speak hand signals, but we'll see that. Anyone else? Okay. Dr. Maxwell Maltz died in 1974. So when you think about all the intellectual gurus on the self-help bookshelves, you might think of Tony Robbins, or you might think of any one of these people that Jay Shetty, a lot of people are talking about today. Really, Dr. Maxwell Maltz was a pioneer in this, and not that many of you have heard of him. One of the things that he had said was, just to give you the background, Dr. Maltz was a plastic surgeon with a thriving practice in plastic surgery. And he made the observation in two different instances. One where a salesperson was in a horrible car accident, and from that accident, his injury was a disfigured face. And he went from being the top sales guy down to almost no sales at all, because he thought when people looked at him, they saw a grotesque look on the face, and it wasn't something, he wasn't able to really make his sales. Well, Dr. Maltz did the surgery, and lo and behold, when the bandages came off, he went right back up to number one in the company, which you would expect. But there was another case that Dr. Maltz had observed, and that was of this duchess. This duchess had a beautiful face, but had a horrible hump on her nose. And when he corrected that hump, you would think the same thing that had happened to the salesperson, that she would go out and be thriving just like that salesperson was. However, it never happened. She was just as shy as she ever was, even though she had a truly classic, beautiful face. There was no reason to be shy. There's never a reason to be shy, but there's certainly, if that was truly the problem, the scalpel wasn't the magic wand. What was the problem then? It was how both of these characters saw themselves. The salesperson saw himself as a top salesperson and one that deserves the respect and the interest and being able to do the stuff that he knew that he was able to do. The only thing was, he knew people were reacting to him differently with his nose sideways and scars and all of this. When that was corrected, he went back to being his old self. The problem with a lot of us, if we bring this down to your business and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, is you don't necessarily see yourself as someone who's either deserving or in line with the customers. Now, again, feel free to argue it. I want to be able to have a lively debate about this. But, I've had people on my team in the past, they're no longer on my team, who in one case, he said to me, well, I just don't swing in the same circles that you swing in. Does that resonate with anyone? You know, you just don't have that access because you're not swinging in the circles. But here's the thing. It's true. He wasn't swinging in the same circles that I was swinging in. However, the thing that he never needs to realize is that most people aren't swinging in the proper circles. It doesn't answer for the people in this business that just make it through grit, that don't have that experience. So I want to speak with all of you about outlook, about when I asked the question in the beginning of the meeting, who wants to speak? It's hard to be able to just go out and get you. Perhaps there's something within you that's saying, oh, you know, mom said to be quiet when adults are talking, and I'm certainly not the adult here. We all are. But I want to see who this actually resonates with, where they feel they might not have pulled the trigger. It's a bold kind of thing to say because your perception is that you're admitting weakness, but you're not. You're really talking about ways to make your presentation and you ultimately stronger. So, you know, before I pick on Linda here, who has some thoughts on this? Okay, Linda, what are your thoughts on this?
To put myself out there, I do feel like that sometimes. I think that my service offering is as good as all the luxury realtor in town, but I may not drive the fanciest car or have the fanciest clothes. So sometimes it feels a little bit not in my league, but I don't see why
not in your league. Write that down. Not
but I don't feel that. I feel that my service is even better, and than those. I look at their listing, and sometimes I'm like, I could do that. I can certainly do that. You know, so it's a self-image. I have to be confident and go out there.
Okay, so thank you for being bold. And I know I put you on the spot, but I know you could be, and I know that you were going to help me make the example. Lena, how are you? And where are you?
Hi everyone. I'm Lena. I definitely have this.
Okay.
In work, I don't know if you guys know, but I have my startup, which I'll talk about later. I feel like it's imposter syndrome, where I feel like I don't. But because I'm talking with people, it's in real estate too. When you're talking with people that you feel are like Linda said, kind of out of your league or know more than you or older than you, it happens a lot. I feel almost unworthy, or like I feel like I shouldn't be there, even though my skills and expertise have gotten me there. There's a point I'm there, but I feel like it's a way to work on yourself to where even if you had the background and expertise, like you said with the story, like sometimes even if you have all that, it's working on yourself that will make it better.
Sure. Thank you for sharing. You did something that made you the winner, because this 90% of the people in this meeting feel that way. Okay.
Yeah.
I know that. I speak to all of you privately. So I said 90%, it could be even higher, but it gives you the 10% chance of being the cool guy that never has a problem. This happens all the time. Terry, was that yes agreeing, or did you have a question?
I am agreeing, and I do not have a question. I have an observation.
Please.
Hello, fellow rainmakers. We're all faking it. We're all faking it. You're faking it. You fake it till you make it. And the more that you do that, the more confidence you will have that you're doing the right thing. And then you're not faking it. You have become the thing that you always imagined you would be. So every single person does not know what they're doing completely. That's a huge misconception. The longer you do anything, the better you become at it, of course. But we're all human. We're all fallible. We all have our like, oh my God, moments that you think you're just worthy. You are. You are. Okay.
No, Terry, don't. You're great, and Lena, that's great, and we've got fortunately everyone else. There's lots of meetings that are out there, but how many of them could say they actually have a psychologist on with them? Dr. Lisa Scotch, I was waiting for you to chime in on this.
So I'm still, today's a slow roll for me, so I apologize. I even chimed in, got in late to the meeting, but just to kind of follow what Terry was saying, I teach fake it till you make it to all of my students, all of my graduate students.
Okay.
It is so important because even when you quote make it, something else is going to change. Like now we have AI that's developed. There's always going to be something more, something new. So I teach my students grit and perseverance and an open mind, because that's what's going to get them to where they need to be and stay there or move further up if that's their desire. There isn't any of my students that are graduating that have all the skills for the job, their dream job. We don't teach dream job skills in a graduate program.
Oh, so what do you,
Go ahead.
I'm asking, what do you teach?
We teach critical thought, research skills in the case of academia. So learning how to find the information you need. So that's where the fake it till you make it comes in, because you can find the information you need if you're a good researcher and a critical thinker. So you don't have to have all of the things. You just need to know where to find them, or know that someone has done it before you. And again, I say map the crap out of that. So map the crap out of it. Find somebody that's doing what you want to do and do what they're doing if they're successful at it.
Sure. Listen, all solid, solid advice. I like the whole notion of fake it till you make it, but I don't think you should necessarily feel like a fraud. I think that.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. So I just want to be clear. And I knew that's what you meant, Lisa. But I want everyone to really stop and think about just what it is. I'll get you in 1 second, Victor. But it's really, if you look at the people that I see who are really, truly successful in this business, let's talk about this for just a second. I've got this right now on my in my office, and I see this all the time, that you've got a job, that you've got to actually make a phone call. You got to actually speak to somebody. The perception is that that person has accomplished more in their life. And indeed, that might very well be true. They might be older, they might be younger, they might have made a lot more money. How are you going to ultimately move from being a master-servant relationship where you are basically doing what they tell you to do, to being a peer and trying to work eye to eye? Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. You could say, well, wait a minute, I'm serving my clients. This is true. The top agents in the world serve their clients, but you also see them out to lunch with those clients. You watch the TV shows, you see them actually enjoying an interaction with those people. At least the top people do. Now, there's going to be people, you're going to say, wait a minute, you're out of your mind. I've got a billionaire client, he would never want to have lunch with me. Maybe, maybe not. But the point is that by you automatically thinking that you are, you know, part of that fake it till you make it that was pointed out by Terry and Lisa, you got to put it into the proper context. You got to be able to look at this and say you're working hard because it's the right thing to do, because it's your career, because you're a top professional, but not because you've got some type of master-servant relationship. We're going to talk more about it in a second. Victor, please tell everyone who you are, where you are, and let's talk.
Hi, Victor Curry at Douglas Elliman in Los Angeles. And, you know, I actually co-authored a book on this topic about 20 years ago. It's out of print. You can't get it, so sorry. But
what was it called?
It was called Ordinary to Extraordinary. It was a friend of mine who was trying to become the next Tony Robbins. And then they brought me in to write it. Everything that you're saying resonates. The one thing I'd say is the difference on the fake it till you make it is you don't necessarily need to fake it. But you do need to be able to do is be the connector. And if you're the person if you are always able to say, look, I don't know everything, but I know how to find it. You don't necessarily need to fake it, because you're able to still be the expert, and the expert at putting the people together and putting the pieces together. And you're not faking it, because you're like, I don't know that one, but you know what? I do know who does, and I can get you that information accurately. Because you don't have to be the expert who knows it. You have to be the expert who knows how to get it. And as long as you can do that and become the connector, you don't really have to be totally faking it, because you're still creating the opportunity for it. One of my mentors years ago on business always said, as long as you read the top 2 books in any topic, you know more than 95% of the people who are doing it. So, a lot of the time in old businesses, if I was doing anything in media and I was going to deal with somebody in a specific industry, I would go and read the top 2 books in their industry, and I knew enough to be able to talk to them semi-intelligently and listen to what they were saying, because it's all about listening. It's not that hard to fake it from that perspective. It's more of a case of how do you take advantage of the knowledge you have, and how do you take advantage of being able to listen to what the other people are trying to get and what their needs are. It's not that hard to meet people's needs if you let them tell you what the needs are.
Sure. And I'm glad you're saying this. And at the same time, just because you have the psycho client, which all of us have had, boy, we've had so many meetings talking about those fucking idiots. By the way, I want to talk 1 second. I'm going to get Lisa in a second. I curse. I know I do. I've got a potty mouth. I was always told that it's a bad thing. Even Daniel's nodding at that. Oh yeah, he curses a lot. He works with me for 5 years now. He knows that. And Dina's laughing. But I'll say this. People tend to like it in a way. I'm sure they're offended by some, but I think what people, as I've identified it, I would hope people like the raw honesty and the emphasis that I'm making at certain points. We were all taught a certain thing, and I kind of have my potty mouth because I feel as though I'm letting my true self out. Now, that might scare some of you, and you may run off and decide not to subscribe to REIGNation, and that would make me sad. But at the same time, you've got to be actually true to yourself. And I find that, I mentioned this because a couple of you have said, do you really go in and talk that way with clients? Fuck yeah, I do. And somehow it works. Somehow the people that I'm actually working with. So ultimately,
and Father Francis appreciates it when you talk like that to him.
Perhaps, I'll tell you the story about the nun that I helped onto a bus at one. It's really, really good. Lisa, please go ahead. Lisa Scotch, you got to unmute.
Yeah, I was trying to find the button again.
No worries.
Slow morning. I apologize. So Victor was talking about the top 5%. And you say 95% won't know if you don't read those books. So the other thing I do is work with my students to be in that top 5%. So for example, if they're getting a master's or a doctoral degree, everyone that's going to go for the jobs that they're going for is going to have that master's or that same doctoral degree. So what the hell are you going to do different when you sit in front of someone to interview? So, and the market's tight. You might have 200 to 800 applicants for a position with a PhD.
Yeah, I'm married to a former professor and think tank researcher at this point. And those jobs are hard to find. And it's tough. And I think one of the problems that is coming up in what you're saying there, though, is our system is telling people that they get the degree and the degree is going to get them what they need, and the degree isn't.
Right.
And that's the problem we've got right now is, and I think just hearing the beginning of what you were saying before about the kind of things you're doing, those are the skills that people need right now. You're telling people what they need to do to be able to move forward. And if they don't learn something beyond the degree is perseverance will get you the degree eventually, whether or not it's from a top tier or whatever. They're out there. What do you do with it and how do you promote? That's the whole next question.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So that 5%, and the same thing with real estate, how many of us are there? Do you know what I'm saying? So
A lot.
You don't have to be magical per se or bring some kind of unicorn, but you do have to bring something else to the table that someone else isn't bringing. I feel whether that's being well spoken or offering something more, or I just feel like that, it's the same scenario. So
as you're mentioning this about how many of this there are out there, don't get not you, but all of us, don't get too psyched out by the numbers. Somebody told me how many people have their real estate license in Palm Beach County. And I'll tell them that last year, was it last year? No, probably the year before, I closed 3 deals with people's in listings where the person who was hiring me had their real estate license. Now just think about that for a second. These are people that have their licenses but really don't practice. And by the way, overwhelmingly, most agents suck. Most agents suck. I mean, I wish most people suck, but most agents suck. The ones that don't suck are people that are actually seeking ways to get better by coming to places like REIGNation or getting a coach or doing something, sales training, something to actually improve themselves and get better. Most people suck. And to emphasize that point even more, did you know that if you hired the person to sell your home on that you found on Zillow, or if you used that person to help you buy a home, you have a 50% chance that that person has sold one or fewer homes. That's pretty crazy. People need to know that. Now, that's not to question a couple of my teammates who regularly use Zillow and they have years of experience and all that. I'm not throwing just a giant cow at that. What I'm saying is that you need to recognize that a lot of the people that are getting these deals really are far below you if you want to rank your experience. They have much less than you. I'm trying to get you to see yourself a little bit differently. I mean, that's really what this boils down to. Okay, we're going to go on with this in just another minute. On Friday, we are going to do another Friday at noon, and we're going to send an email out about that later. How to use AI video avatars as spokespeople. Okay, this year is going to be the year of the where these AI avatars get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's going to be 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, again, giving the Californians a bit of a break. So if you want to come to that, again, Daniel, if you could put that in the chat just to remind everyone about it, that would be fantastic. Okay, where else? Who else wants to boldly say or talk about where they've kind of had troubles with self-image in their own business? This is a great boiler point. If anyone throws a cow at you, I'm going to throw them out of the meeting. So you have no fear of being teased or mocked. Except me, maybe, by Dina, who loves to pick on me.
I'll tease and mock you both.
Oh, Eddie Glantz, please. Oh, by the way, Eddie, I got your letter.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
I got your letter, and I've got to say it was one of the best mailers that I've seen because it was so simple. It was handwritten, and then I opened the thing up and saw that it was from you. And I was keeping that on the side to use it as an example with my team. So good stuff.
Cool.
But so what are your thoughts, Eddie?
Taking it all the way back to the swingers conversation. I do.
Hold on, Eddie. Would you consider yourself a swinger?
For those of us that do not swing, I will say it like this because I do think that I can relate to folks that are in very different what I want to say, different areas or different stages of their life. They may be younger than me, they may be older than me, they may be more educated than me, they may be richer than me, but I can find commonalities. I can talk with them on their level about anything. And I think a lot of us can do that. But where it doesn't feel as good is when you're not swinging in the same circles as where you're comfortable. And I think that's a niche that we all need to find because then our business is easier. Yes, if I have an outlier, referral that comes in and they're not my guy, we're not going to be friends afterwards, but I'm going to take really good care of them. But where I want to build my business is oftentimes around like-minded folks so that, I think you do an even better job when you're comfortable with the folks you're swinging with, so to speak. You know what I mean? And I will also say I'm thrilled to hear Lisa say that in graduate level studies, they're teaching things like grit and critical thinking. That is awesome. Because a lot of folks that are of that age that I meet, they're not very good critical thinkers. And they don't have a lot of grit. So it's good to hear that. I just wish we at the K through 12 levels would also teach a little bit of grit and critical thinking, but that's a little side note. But yes, so be who you are, be malleable in the fact that you're going to meet a lot of different personalities, but find who your circle is and really let that be the crux of your business is the way I look at it.
It's very, very well said. Look, what they're teaching in schools, we could have a whole other series. Forget meeting.
True. Oh, and let me get on you a little bit too about cursing. I heard this said about cursing. They said you run the risk of offending some if you curse. You run the risk of offending no one if you don't. So I always thought that was kind of an interesting take on that. Do with it what you will.
Okay, great. I'll let that marinate for a little bit, but I like it.
Till the next one slips out.
Yeah, look, you know, again, we've got a limited amount of time on this planet, and I think that we need to really stop and think about what's ultimately making you happy in the career. As humans, it's a very unique position that we're in to be able to like what we do in order to make a living. I mean, that's a very uniquely human thing, and it's very unique in our time. You know, if you think about it, I saw a great meme online where the guy was talking to his dog and he said, you know, 100 years ago, you would have slept outside and had to fight for every meal. And the dog was, of course, tucked into his bed and the guy was like serving the dog. It's kind of true. We really don't know, at least as a society, the hardships of the past. And I think as a result, we're relying on things where, you know, to talk when spoken to, be polite, don't interrupt, don't brag. Fortunately, or unfortunately, we're coming into kind of a bragging time in this world, led by a lot of politicians and social media. We're now seeing people, you know, years ago, I couldn't imagine people posting, you know, I closed a $5 million deal. To me, 20 years ago, I would have looked at that as like, wow, how could you actually do that? But you kind of have to. On a second, Kathy, I gotta just mute you here because you had a little background noise there. But if you need to talk, you can unmute. So, so who else? Who's got some other things where they didn't take the chance and they didn't do it because of how they saw themselves in that moment? Who wants to share? See? And think about why you might not want to share. You could come up with something.
I mean, I'll just throw myself under the bus for my education.
Okay.
You know, I came from a very poor background, and
you came from a poor background?
Yeah, and it was not a good setting. And as I continued through my education, everybody was like, you are absolutely not doing your math. I mean, I don't think I had one person other than my small children supporting my idea of going through master's and PhD, because I had my kids by then. I was older, but so I had literally zero support going through all of that. So you just have to dig deep and find it within. It has to come from within. It's great if you have the outside support or you can see that, but at the end of the day, all of this that you're doing has to come from you.
Yeah, it really truly does. I very, very well said.
Totally right. I agree.
Go ahead. I didn't know that was you.
Oh, okay. Right. Just the feeling of having it to come from within. I feel like something that I say over and over again to myself sometimes is, why not me? You know, when you're kind of presented in a situation and you're like, why should they go with me? Why should, you know, somebody feel comfortable? It's like, why not? Why not me? Why can't I be the broker who brings something to the table? Why can't I be somebody who's not in that circle, but can start a different conversation? Because everyone is worthy of it and everybody has the tools. That's why everyone's here. So it's just kind of a different mindset, instead of like with a client, like, why go with me? Why not go with me?
Sure. And beyond that, and here's the thing, let's turn it around for a second, Samantha. Let's say we look at some hard truths. There are people that are more experienced than I am. There are people that actually know more. I forgot who said it in here, but I could get the answer for you. To me, relying upon a team or bringing someone in who actually has the experience with you, you know, when we have a closing on my team, Daniel, who works very, very hard, will make social media posts with everyone's face on it saying, just closed, just listed, whatever it might be. Why? You're leveraging the team. It's not a lie. You're part of the team. You're part of the thing that actually made this happen. You know, you don't look at that and say, okay, this person's a liar or anything. Now you're leveraging credibility. We really need to do more thought on how to leverage credibility if you feel you do not have it. So in going back to what Lisa was saying about faking it till you make it, instead of looking at it as faking it, if some of you feel as though you're a fraud for that, think of it as leveraging the assets that you actually have. If you really stop and think that through. And I got to tell you, for the things, every idea I've had, people have told me was a bad thing. You can't become a realtor coming from New York and real estate investment. It's a giant step backwards in your life. And I really felt that way for a very long time. Who the hell would want to go to a mastermind group in the morning? You know, especially the Californians. Why would they wake up so early? Who would actually find a value to this? I confront that still. And I've got a ton of you in here, and I get so much satisfaction, and I know so many of you have said that you really enjoy what goes on and feel that it's uplifting to the business. So you need to really stop and think through, where is the sources of your criticism? Where, when you hear the head trash tell you that you can't get that client, where is that really coming from? Who wants to have a go at that? Where is it really coming from? It's a tough one.
Yeah, I'll jump in, Edwin.
Okay, tell everyone who you are and where you are, Mark.
Yeah, this is Mark Fuller. I'm out of Sacramento, California, so it's a little bit early here.
Welcome.
But this self-confidence, self-image, the headspace has been a big thing for me. I had a major surgery about 2 years ago, and I had a tumor removed out of my jaw. So I was really concerned about my facial, look, the ability to speak properly, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been a bit of a process. And then you put COVID on top of this. I didn't realize at the beginning of 2023 how impacted I had been, and I had lost all self-confidence. Don't know why. I can't really put my finger on it, but spent a lot of time this last year just on my mental headspace. But in that process, now I haven't really had a whole lot of production over the last 2 years, although I've been in the business since 2006. And I will say that I'm really, really good at what I do. But I've lost that confidence. And so now you get in and it's starting to compete again. And when you're looking at your numbers, it's okay, well, you're looking at your sales price to list price ratios, your numbers, all these different components that in a competitive space that they're looking for. I struggle with how do I overcome this thing, because my production's been low, and I'm not a 1 unit a year guy, but I'm not that 15, 20 unit a guy that I used to be. So I have a struggle with that immensely.
Are you still struggling?
We're getting over it now, but I'm actually going on a listing presentation on Friday, and I've got to overcome these things. I've got a seller that is quite the grinder, and so I'm gonna have to pull it out and figure it out and get it done. So sure. Action.
Well, so let me ask you this. You could speak hypothetical or actual. How much? What's the total dollar volume you'd like to do in 2024?
Well, I want to do, my goal is 55 units this year. And, so it's $1 million in GCI.
It's $1 million. So you want to do basically 50 million in sales.
Yes.
Okay, good. So from there, you got to reverse engineer it, because if you want to do 50 units, now we're looking at roughly, and for those of you who are overwhelmed by this, as I am, okay, for those of you that are so bold, like, I'm going to be quiet. Well, it's hard. It's hard to do it, but it is the same repetitive task that gets you, whether you're doing 5 or 50. It's the same repetitive task that this guy's actually going through in order to do it. And by the way, if he doesn't make that goal, if I speak to him a year from today and he didn't make it, is anyone in this meeting going to throw a cow at him for not trying? I mean, you need to really look at all that and take a look. So what I think everyone really needs to do is reverse engineer where their money's coming from. Reverse engineer what their true expenses are and say, how much more do they really need to do in units? The guy could either sell 1 unit at $1 million, or 50, or 1 unit at 50 million, or 50 units at $1 million each. The choice is yours. We could actually go for that. So whenever you're down in the dumps, just remember this. Lena's very excited. We've got her digital hand and her actual hand up. Okay, I won't mess with you. You got to unmute yourself.
Hi, hi guys, I was on mute. I wanted to say something to, what's his name that just talked?
Was it Mark?
Mark? Okay, so I've been working on this a lot because I've been in my journey for, it's almost been 2 years, and I've read probably every book on it that I can. And I just want to tell you something that has really helped me, and I hope it will help you. Basically what I do is I'm like, okay, I think of the person that I want to be, the person that I see in the future that has all the goals, experience, is self-confident, is at feels in place, and I'm like, okay, what are the thoughts that they're thinking? And then if I start to think of thought that's self-doubting, I'm like, wait a second, future me would not be thinking these thoughts. So I put a stop on it, and that has really helped me in the long run, because you stop the thought right there, and then you're also inputting thoughts that confident, successful you would be thinking on the regular. So I just wanted to share that because that has helped me, and I hope maybe that could help you.
Okay. It's good stuff.
That's awesome. I appreciate that, Lana. Thank you.
That really is awesome. Instead of actually looking at a circumstance or situation that is too difficult to overcome, I learned from a great public speaker why people are stage fright. You want to know why? It's so simple, and it never even occurred to me. They're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about themselves and not you. I go through a mental exercise before each of these meetings where I'm saying to myself, I'm going to just think about the crowd. I'm not going to think about, I'm going to make myself look as pretty as I do. FYI, this doesn't happen naturally. I have to work very hard on my beauty. But
you have the glam squad.
Yeah, that's hey, back off, Harvey Weinstein. Okay, I'm married, please. But on a serious note, you've got to stop and think about them, not about you. When you go into a sales meeting, if you're thinking, oh my God, I don't look good, oh my God, this is going to mess up, what you really need to get into your mind, try this next time, is to put first and foremost, what can I do to really help this guy? Let me think about them and worry nothing about yourself. Again, you've got to find the balance. I don't know if worrying about nothing, if your shirt's untucked and you got stinky breath, you just had a burrito or something, who knows? The point that you're really trying to do and what you're really trying to accomplish is to get over whatever is stopping you. And again, from where I sit and from where I speak to so many of you on a regular basis, this is a very, very common issue. This is the majority. This is not the minority of you. So for those of you who are saying, wow, that's me, this is the majority. And if we need to continue and do other meetings like this or break-off meetings, if you'd like to, please do let me know. I know this is not as sexy as the topics that I normally have, things like AI or the one that we're doing on Friday about getting an avatar to replace you or do things online for you. That's, again, Friday at noon. Notice how I gave the little gratuitous plug. But it's an incredibly important topic, and I'm very grateful that all of you have come for this. Okay, just a few more minutes in this. Anyone have any other thoughts or ideas before we get to wants, needs, and brags?
Edmund, can I comment?
Please,
on what...
I love when you do that, Terry. Please.
Aw, thanks. Edmund is an accomplished public speaker. I've seen him own multiple rooms without having to pay for them. But yet for you to admit to the fact that you still get stage fright each time you do it is, again, I think it goes back to the faking it till you make it. The more you do anything, the better you become at it. But we all have, I just think it's admirable that after all this time, all these decades that I've known you, you still get stage fright before you go up.
Always.
Everyone gets that. Everyone gets that. It's how you deal with it, move forward with it, that, shows the kind of person that you are. So
thank you.
I'm the same way. I've been on stage since I was a teenager, but I feel like nowadays, if I don't have a little stage fright, that's when I'll screw up. It's that heightened awareness when you're going up there that keeps you on your toes. So anyone else out there, like going to a pitch is the same way. Yeah. Take a deep breath. You can do it.
If you realize how much of this comes from your own self-esteem, from your own head trash, from really what's going on. It's the white elephant in the room. None of these meetings ever address this. I've been apprehensive because, again, I never wanted just a touchy-feely group hug type of thing, even though I always joke about the group hug at the end of the meeting. But I really do believe that this is an important topic. Lena really likes the topic. Go ahead, Lena.
I like this because I read all about this. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm talking
no, please, not at all. Don't apologize.
Okay. A piece of advice that a friend gave me that really helped is it's not like to reframe it. So if you think it's anxiety or nerves, reframe it as excitement. Be like, okay, this feeling I'm having is, instead of thinking it's anxiety or nervousness, like just frame it like, oh, this is excitement. Like I'm excited to do this. So that's helped me a lot too, just to reframe it.
Again, could be a close cousin to fake it till you make it, right, Lena? I mean, you know, definitely life is a series of perspectives. And I appreciate that. Wants, needs, and brags. I just want to remind everyone that once Terry sings us out, I will continue for about 10 or 15 minutes doing a podcast. It's something that I want to try here. And so if you can, if you want to stick around for that, please do. We'll just take a minute as we're ending. Lena, did you raise your hand again, or was that a?
Yes.
Okay,
sorry,
hi.
I feel like
Don't
I'm
be
talking.
sorry. Don't be sorry.
Okay, so wants, needs, and brags.
Please.
First of all, this meeting has been great. I really enjoyed hearing all of you. And wants, needs, and brags. So I don't know if you guys have known from before, but I had my startup and I finally signed with Element. So we have a contract together, and I wanted to know, basically, I feel like your guys' input would be amazing because you guys are involved. So we're launching first in Miami and then in New York City. And if any of you want to be on the test first, I would appreciate any feedback or anything. It's just like it's beta testing right now before next month. And I would like any of your input or anything. And yeah.
What's the startup do?
What do you do?
Yeah, if you guys are in, I don't know if I, so,
first, you could correct me if I'm wrong, and then I'll let you speak, but just correct me if I'm wrong. It's basically the Uber or somebody else didn't describe it as Uber, but if you need to get someone to show a home for you, you could order that broker up, or if you need help in a certain, did I characterize it well, Lena?
It's basically an Uber for an assistant within the brokerage. So there's ratings, you can see all past jobs, you pay through the app. It's a showing contract, anything you need an assistant for, and it's pay per task.
Okay.
So it's like Shawami with more specific tasks in addition to showing stuff.
And it's enterprise level.
And you have a contract with Douglas Elliman Real Estate National.
Yeah, national. So all the Element agents, you're going to be seeing it soon. And if you want to test first, I'd like your guys' opinion because I feel like you guys are on top of this stuff.
And Lena,
and any other person that is in another brokerage that they think would be interested, feel free to contact me.
And Lena, how old are you?
27.
27 years old and has a contract for a software product with a major national corporation. That's pretty good, right, guys? Is that a winner? even if it failed, let's really stop and think about this. Did she? Doesn't she have like the greatest future? Don't you want to be like her when you grow up? I do. Okay. Thank you for that, Lena. It's beautifully said. I hope you stick around for the podcast here. Lisa, hi. Got to unmute.
Mine is totally unrelated, but
Great.
I just had to announce that I'm going to be a grandma for the second.
Mazel tov! Hooray! Yay! Oh my
I'm
goodness.
super excited.
You're a grandma? My grandma looked like Jack Palance. My goodness, you don't look like a grandma at all.
Thank you. I'm going to take that and run with it today.
My grandmother sounded a lot like Jack Palance, but wow, okay, this is great stuff. Yeah, don't tell my dad I said that. He would get upset. Wow, congratulations. Who else? That's exactly what this time is for. What else do you have to brag about?
I have one, Edmund.
Okay, Eddie, please.
Yeah, I've got a very special property that's coming on the market reasonably soon. Don't have an exact timetable yet, but it's all thanks to Eileen Weiss. She referred me to her brother who has some property up here. Like I said, it's very special property. It's going to be really cool. I'll market it to all of you guys, but I just wanted to thank her publicly for the referral.
And I think she just jumped off the meeting, unfortunately, but I'll let her know that you said that. That's great news. Again, I love it when internal leads go on. And Eddie, you've been a good friend and a great agent for a long time. Asheville, North Carolina, yep, not Nashville, Tennessee, as people, always mistake it, but that
is correct.
That's great stuff. And thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful news. That's really great. Who else?
Can I just say, hey, Mark, if you want to talk offline sometime, I was right. My brain was right where yours was during a lot of COVID. I had a whole bunch of friends die at the beginning and I shut down for 2 years of it. And it's only in the last 6 months that I got my brain back into it, to the point where, now I'm signing things up a lot now. So if you want to talk offline, I was where you are. So if you want to talk, anytime.
Good.
I
I'm
appreciate
down LA.
me too, Mark. I really resonated with what you were saying, so we can all talk for sure.
I would love that. So just I don't know what the best way to
Well,
connect it
We're
would
on
be.
Facebook together.
I'm glad you asked that, Mark, because our Daniel always works very hard at this. This is the map of realtors that
Oh,
are
that's right.
in REIGNation around the country here, and we could just take a look at this. There needs to be look at there's Linda. Okay, that's very nice. So you can see if you are subscribed now, what I want you to do is send an email to daniel@boganhomes.com, and he's going to put that in the chat again, and we will make sure to add you to this map. And it's kind of cool. So you could actually take a look at what's out there, and you have a resource and certainly network. And here's the other thing I want to say. Pick up the bloody phone and call people from this meeting. Do at least one a week. I'm not asking you to fly a plane across the country or rocket to the moon. There's money to be made from this group. This is not a waste of your time. This is absolutely a great group of people to connect with. And if anyone is ever disrespectful, as it happens once or twice a year, I will personally throw them out of this meeting. And I have. You have no fear of anyone here. This is just a great group of people that work hard because it's the right thing to do. They're professionals. Some of them make millions per year and others don't. And that's fine. You just, my real reason to have this whole thing is get professionals who are trying to be the top in their business, where real estate is their primary focus. That really is my criteria. So I really hope that you do stick with us. Anyone else? Wants, needs, and brags. Even if you're new here, you're welcome to actually comment in. And that goes out to Beth and Kathy Figueroa and Deanna. I'm looking at these different names here that I don't really recognize. Key to Dream Team. I think I know who that person is. There's a bunch of you today. Anyone?
Edmund rocks.
Linda, hi.
That's it. Edmund rocks. A personal
Oh.
plug that I'm not being paid for.
Oh, stop. And when I say stop, I mean keep going.
I was going to
Edmund
say,
rocks. Good
after
stuff shared
today,
here,
I mean, it's
folks.
very obvious Edmund's paying for the complimentary verbiage. You got Terry, Tara. Who else is going to say something?
So for the
And
newbies,
and he's very tall.
yeah, for the newbies on this meeting, it's well worth tuning in, whether you're doing other stuff or going through emails or you're in the car. It's well worth. There's always valuable information shared among the professional group of people that want to not only conduct business, but almost equally and more importantly is do the right thing for others and collaborate and network, and we all can learn from one another.
Sure.
So there you go. You can send me a
that's
check or Venmo me later. Bye.
Very, very true. Very true. It is really good information. There's also really good relationships to be had. I mean, I'll just say that.
Well, thank you. And thank you all so very much for it. We're going to, is Terry still here?
Let me look
there you
around.
are.
Where'd he
There
go? Oh yeah, here he is.
Whatever. I'm looking at a big screen here, so come on.
Look under the fan. That's where he is. He's right under the fan.
Yeah.
It's the
Okay.
biggest-
Yeah, that's your biggest fan, right? Okay. I like that. Okay.
That was terrible.
That was pretty bad. Okay. We're going to start the podcast in just a second, but not before I say, I want to thank all of you for coming today. It really was great to see all of you. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully on Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another exciting episode of
REIGNation.
Fantastic. Again, don't know.
Great
how
week,
to start
guys.
it. That's great. If you're going to stick around again, I'm going to start the podcast in just a second, and it's going to be recorded for broadcast. So I'm going to give everyone just a minute here, because if you're going to leave, I don't want you to be forced to stay. Okay. Enough with that said, let me get this going here, and I'm going to start this out as a podcast because it's being recorded here. like this. Hey everyone, Edmund Bogan with REIGNation. You can see it right up there. We are a mastermind group for people in real estate all over the country. I've got a group of people here. We're going to be talking about self-confidence in business. And I want to just bring this full circle here. Most of you go to work with a certain amount of head trash, right? Okay, maybe you won't admit it. But for those of you that have the courage to admit it, here's the thing. A lot of people are walking in the same steps. We've got a group of people here we're going to discuss it with. I'm going to pick on my buddy Victor, who's out in California. Victor, yeah, he's why am I picking on you? You know,
you can pick on me. You pick on me all the time.
Victor, share with me your thoughts on this. How important do you think self-esteem is to the realtor?
I mean, it's more it's self-esteem and clarity. I mean, it's okay to have some self-doubt if you can figure out what the path is to work around it.
Okay.
You know, there's always, you know, we all have doubts or we all have, you know, my biggest one is probably perfectionist tendencies that get in the way. You know, I want it to be right, and that slows me down. And sometimes you have to figure out how to work around that. So it's just about sometimes it's attitude, but sometimes it's also just about figuring out the direction that you need to go in.
Okay. Good stuff. We're going to bring a couple people into the Dina, can I pick on you? Maybe Dina Ulrich. Okay.
I was just unmuting.
Okay, good. So, you know, taking the topic a little bit further, have you had circumstances that you think you're more comfortable in? Because what I want to talk with this group about is how do we actually replicate that feeling, that time that you're able to actually manufacture it? Are there times that you're better in the selling process? And when are they? I'm expecting that question.
Yeah. No. It's definitely when I'm in my comfort zone and I feel like I know the neighborhood, I know the product that I'm dealing with 100%. It's my comfort zone for sure. I will tell you right now, I just got a phone call that I missed, and I have to call him back right after this, from someone who is looking to spend much more than I have ever done on a deal on my own. And I'm a little bit nervous. So I was really happy to have this conversation right now.
So that's great. We're talking about an extra zero or an extra, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
That guy just called me about a property that I had sent. And he's like, hey, you know, look, there was a price drop. And I'm sitting here thinking, I think I have a little bit of what Victor was talking about, of the perfectionist syndrome, where I'm nervous that he's going to ask me a question and I'm not going to know the answer. So I have to do a ton of research before I call him back. And I'm not sure that that's the right way to go. I think he would like to just hear from me and know that I'm on top of it and I prioritize him. I don't need to know every property that sold along the beach in Florida in the last year. I need to call him back.
So here's
as long as he knows you know how to find your find. As long as you can, you know, just let him know that you know how to find the information he needs, and that you're the expert at finding out those things. Then you're fine, because you already have the knowledge in the general sense.
Yes.
If you stop and think about it just for a second, you can anticipate most of the questions that are going to come to you. You know, life is a series of following the same patterns over and over again. And the questions that this person is likely going to have, you can figure out 95% of that. So what you really ought to do is make an exhaustive list of where those questions may be, but then you're going to do something else. And this is something that I'm recommending to everybody who's watching this podcast or listening to this podcast right now. You're going to stop and learn the word pivot. When somebody throws something at you that you don't understand, you need to pivot. You need to pivot onto something that takes you away from the topic or gives you some type of break. Dina, want to have any ideas of what your pivots are?
I'm actually trying to think of one as we're speaking, and I'm not sure which way to go, but what I do know is I do know the history of the property in which he's interested. I know what I'm not 100% sure of is where it should be priced. And I know that's all he's going to want to talk about. He's somebody who is always interested in the deal, always wants to, it's all a numbers game to him. He wants something that's a great deal. So I need to be prepared with that type. Those are the questions he's going to be asking me. That's the type of information he's going to want.
So
It just had, this is a property that he liked that had a
Oh,
price
God.
drop. That's why I reached out to him. He immediately called me back and is like, call me.
the good work pivot. Okay, let's make a few of these pivots. What is the good work
Yes.
pivot? The good work is, well, this guy, how much is the property?
Right now it's 17.5. It
17
just dropped. It originally was at 24.5, then dropped to 19.5. Now it's at 17.5.
And for those that don't understand, $17,500,000, right? Okay.
Yes,
I think you're a little overwhelmed by that number.
I am.
So here's the pivot. The pivot is, look, you know, you're 100% right. Look at that. The price came down. Let's see how flexible that is. I need to find out a little bit more about the owner. What do you think about that? I need to find a little bit more about the neighbors of what's going on. This is a property that it's great. Tell me what your concerns are. Again, thinking about this, bring it up before they actually do, and you're going to be in a position of superiority. You're going to be able to get them to have a much greater understanding. So that's one pivot that you're able to do. What else? Here's somebody asks you a question that you don't know the answer to. Who wants to have a go at that? It could be either Victor or Linda. Any one of you could actually throw that out. I just asked you something about something that you don't know. What is the pivot for that?
I don't know, but but I can tell you in half an hour because I'm connected to most of the top experts in the region.
Fantastic. What if that happens multiple times? Anyone want to have a guess? Now you keep saying, oh, I need to check. I need to check. Is that a bad thing? Maybe.
It's not great.
It's not
It
great.
depends.
But what
You
can we do
should
to
already
remedy
be
it?
preparing.
What could we do to remedy the situation? Any thoughts?
Prepare.
Bring up the stuff that
Research.
you do know.
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to say.
You
Talk
need
about,
Thank you, Linda. I've been waiting for you. Yes, you need to bring up the stuff that you do know, correct them and make them get this. I don't necessarily know that, but let me tell you what we do know. And you go on with that. So Dina, your initial thought of being able to research all this, that's fantastic. But just research the pivots as well. That's the message in this podcast today. If you could really stop and think through where the objections are and where your vulnerabilities are, you could begin to build a bridge around those things. Nobody's perfect and nobody's expecting you to, but have the focus on the client and have the focus on the, where your pivot points are, and you're going to be much, much better off. Everyone going into these meetings should. Victor, please.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, and 90% of the questions that you are going to be asked in all of the various transactions and meetings you're going to have, if it's related to real estate and the sales side, you are going to get the same questions 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And you really only have to be ready to pivot and answer those 10% that are out of the 90%. You're going to be asked the same questions all the time on almost every meeting you're ever going to take. So you don't have to stress about those. You only have to think a little bit about the ones that are going to be outside the box once in a while.
Sure. Make the list. We will add that to the private REIGNation Facebook page. For those of you who are watching, this is REIGNation. We are a real estate mastermind group. We have people from literally all over the world now, actually. 26 different states are represented. We have Reykjavik, Iceland. We have 2 people in Portugal. We've got someone in Jerusalem. We've got people in the UK. And I'd love to have you, if you'd like to learn more, please do give us a call. Victor and everyone who is sticking around extra for this, I'm grateful. Anybody have any final thoughts before we sign off here?
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we supposed to be brilliant now?
Honestly, Victor, you are brilliant. We all know that. Thank you all so much for coming. Again, we have 6 meetings per month. Our next meeting is going to be on Friday. That is November, March 1st, November. We'll see where my mind is. Friday, March 1st, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And after that, we normally meet on Wednesday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have questions, do reach out to me. And I look forward to seeing all of you here at REIGNation.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
And we're
Edmund.
clear. Okay, thank you all very much. I now have enough that I could edit. I will be doing this after some meetings. So if you want to pop on to the meeting with me, if you have anything that you'd like to plug, you could talk to me in advance of the meeting, like on Friday. If there's things that you want people to know, we could do something to actually get you plugged on on these topics. And
I'm going to plug my podcast.
yeah, well, plug whatever you want. Tara Diaz, can you hear me?
Thank you.
Tara?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Okay, hi. So how did you like the meeting?
It was good. This is my first time. I was like, what's going on?
Okay. No, look.
I'm new.
You are indeed. Please send your contact info to Daniel at Bogan Homes, as I'd love to talk with you about it. There's been a few of you in the meeting today, and I'd love to tell you all about what I'm trying to do, and see if we could have you back.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
you.
everybody. I
Thank
gotta
you.
run. Thank you.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ed.
Bye.